Good morning, good afternoon, and or good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages. I am Adrian Gale, aka the Shardy Guy, and welcome to my MotoGP recap live stream. As it looks like it starts to rain, yes, it starts to rain again. There's been a story of the weather down here in the past 36 hours. So it's a bit of a spoiler in regards to the weekend as a whole. But yeah, as I said, so I'll be going over everything that I did over the weekend, where I got the opportunity to track marshal my first ever MotoGP event. This is my, well, lanyard is kind of what it's called, slash official pass that I had a whole weekend and literally can't really see it properly, but yeah, my photo does leave a fair bit to be desired, which I'll get to in a moment. Um, so yeah, it had been confirmed that I had been accepted about a couple weeks ago. I did mention it on my Twitter, in kind of the most me way possible, kind of hogging off Brock Beard's spotlight when he said that his credentials for the NASCAR finale at Phoenix had been accepted. So I thought, okay, so what the perfect time, quote tweet that. And yeah, that was when I revealed the news that yes, I had been accepted as a track marshal at the MotoGP. And I guess also before I do get to that, I will also quickly address that. Well, I guess I'll quickly say that thank you to everybody who has watched the JJ Yaley video that I did. I am honestly surprised at how many views it's gotten thus far. It's currently at, I know it was around 550 odd this morning, so whether it's still there, I don't know. 546, so it's just under 550 views, so I reckon if we can just peek that over, that'd be greatly appreciated. And it's also equaled my most liked video on the channel, 17, so that's cool. And so yeah, again, I'd like to thank everybody who's watched the video, who hung around, I guess, rather than just going on for just a few seconds and then leaving. Yeah, I greatly appreciate it. And I will address other video plans later on the stream. But obviously, for me, I know I did say that I was going to do a watch along for the Bathurst 1000. Unfortunately, that fell through after I got called into work last minute. That was a pain in the ass to endure because I'd probably about an hour beforehand, I'd scheduled the stream, put in all the tags, done all that, had it all ready to go, and then at 10:30 at night, work rings. If I could work the following morning? I thought, great. Ah well. And whilst it was a short day, so I probably could have still done the watch along if I wanted to, but it was just too late to get anything really sorted. And unfortunately, overall, the race left a bit to be desired, and well, more the broadcasting than the race, which I guess is also another thing I will address in the stream because I have a lot to say. Okay, so anyway, onwards we go. So, of course, since the practice started on the Friday, or Friday Australian time, I had to be at the circuit the day before, pretty much go through a pre-event briefing, collect my credentials, get the overalls, race overalls. Got to show you guys this. The track tabard / bib that we had to wear over the top of our overalls. That basically identified what type we were. So yeah, so I arrived at the circuit to collect my credentials, and this is probably about a half hour before before the track marshal briefing was supposed to start. And so yeah, I eventually get to the front of the line. I felt like the line barely fucking moved for a good 5 odd minutes. It barely moved. So I finally get to the front. I say my name, pass them my ID, because I did done this last year at the World Supers. So I kind of already knew the gist of all that, of just rock up, give them the ID, and they will manage it from there. So I give them the ID, and the lady looks me up on the system, and I just get told you're not on the system. And I'm immediately thinking, oh shit, don't tell me I've bloody I've come all this way just to be told I was never actually accepted. Like, I've been getting the newsletters, I've been told what group I was, so what the heck? Thankfully it was easily addressed, and it was just like, well, so phone number, address. So she just put me on the system and then took the photo. As I said, unfortunately, it did leave a little bit to be desired, because I didn't know I was bloody getting my photo taken that day. And plus, I had a beanie on as well, so that also kind of frizzled the hair up that I didn't even know that I had until she gave me the linear, and I looked at her and thought, shit. Oh well, shit happens, I suppose. So yeah, that was fine. And then the job pretty much became of finding the marshal's village, which was where my car was parked. Oh, to get my car parked, find my tent, because I had bought a pre-pitched tent, so well, just go up there, go do that, then come back and go do the track marshal briefing. So I drive up. It's a bloody long way to go to the marshal's village. It was up the fucking boondocks, pretty much. It was basically right up the very back of the venue. And of course, you also have to go through checkpoints to make sure. Well, first, to make sure you're in the right spot, and secondly, just to make sure you won't bring anything illegal in, which, well, it's mostly alcohol and gas bottles and all that jazz. So I cleared that without any issue. Just followed the way in people where I was going, and so I arrive at the marshal's village, and so there was a couple of rows of the pre-pitched tents. So I wasn't the only one. There were quite a few pre-pitched tents that were done, and there were name tags that were hanging off the tent of whom the tents belong to. And so I'm driving along and looking, and I'm not seeing my name. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? Like, I had paid you guys with to get a pre-pitched tent. Like, where the hell is it? And yeah, now I'm kind of thinking, well, what the hell do I do? Because the only number that was up there was for security, and they're not bloody gonna help because they won't know where the hell my tent is. And whilst there were camping credential areas, that's probably more for the general public rather than the marshals. So they probably won't be able to help either. So I didn't really know what to do. But then I saw that there were 3 tents that were lined up that didn't have a name tag on them. And I'm kind of thinking, okay, so these are probably the other late people who bought them. Okay, I guess I will park the one furthest to the left, thinking that's probably where it's gone. So I park up, and this is a smart decision on my part. Rather than packing up my stuff, I'm just thinking, no, I've just got to go down and get to the bloody briefing because this is well beyond past 1 o'clock. We're about 1:15 now, so they'd already started the briefing. So then I had to go on about a 20-25 minute walk to get inside the venue, and then to get to the muster shed that was where that's basically the home of the marshals. You had to walk over the bridge, obviously go on the bridge on the other side, and there's another 200 odd meters from there. So probably didn't get there until about 1:30, 1:35. So I did miss the start of the briefing, but they basically go over the same stuff that you'd already know from previous events. So I kind of just stood up the back and just listened in for a little bit, at least for the parts that I'd heard to the track marshals. It was pretty much the usual stuff of don't go out until the yellow flags are out. Take the bar with you, how the bar works, and all that when getting the bike off, and all the usual stuff that I'd already learnt doing World Supers. A lady did come up to me and she did ask me, "Oh, is this your first one?" And I said this was my first MotoGP because I thought that's what she was asking for, but instead she was asking, "Is this your first overall?" But yeah, I said it wasn't because I'd done World Supers last year, so I wasn't on that list, which was a good thing because I nearly had a bloody heart attack when I looked at the list and my name wasn't on it, and I'm thinking, "Ugh, I don't need any more stress today." So I listened in for a little bit, and then when I stopped talking about that, I kind of got to the flag marshal stuff because it was a combined track and flag marshal briefing. So once they started talking about the flags and all that stuff, I pretty much already know a lot of the flag marshalling stuff from not only from just watching TV, and a lot of the flags are self-explanatory. So it was about then when I went across to get my overalls, get them on, and then after that I finished listening to the rest of the briefing, and then went back. Actually, no, I got about halfway back up, and then I caught the shuttle bus. from probably about just outside the circuit back up to the marshalling area, or at least the camp area. But I didn't hang out there for very long because I had forgotten to bring some Gatorade because it was going to be hot. But I knew it was going to be hot on the Friday. Yeah, I was supposed to bring some Gatorade to drink that, try and keep me hydrated. But I accidentally left them at home, and I wasn't going to drive an hour to go back home and an hour back just to get the fucking Gatorade. So it was about. So when I got back up, I noticed, hang on, there's another car parked in front of the tent that I thought was mine. I'm thinking this is going to be interesting, and I did have a quick look and notice. Oh, okay. A quick look inside and notice. Okay, there's actually some stuff there. This is going to be interesting because I don't want to exactly cause too much of a scene, and all that. But then at the corner of my eye, I just happened to look up, and the tent that was closest to the road had magically had a name tag put on it. It was mine. And I'm thinking that wasn't bloody there when I drove past earlier, so when the hell did that happen? And some people who had the tent directly across from me, they were like to me, "Oh, old mate's come round and he's put something on your tent." Because they were probably thinking, "Oh, okay, it's probably something you probably don't exactly want to see." They had said, "Oh, yeah, don't worry, it was just my name." So that was all fine. So yeah, took my stuff out of my car, put it all in the tent, and then made myself comfortable for about 10, 15 odd minutes, and then I hopped in the car to go back to head into Cows. That's probably about 10 minutes away from the circuit. To quickly go to the supermarket to buy some Gatorade for the weekend, just in case, because I knew I was going to need it at least on the Friday and possibly on the Saturday. So this is then where my next fun interaction happened with security. So I arrived back at the circuit, and obviously I still had to go through the same bloody checkpoints. And yeah, like, do you have any alcohol? No. Well, unless I can't Gatorade alcohol, but no, because I literally had basically nothing in my car except for the Gatorades, because everything else was already at the tank. And I was thinking, for the love of God, please don't make me have to open my boot again, and all that. Like, come on. Like, it literally saw me come through like 2 hours ago. Like, what the fuck? So yeah, that was fine. I got let through. And then since I knew the way, so I drove back up to the marshalling area. And the crucial point I want to make here is when I first drove to Marshall Village, there was no security guard there. But when I drove the second time, there was a guard there. Now, to help identify your passes, when you get your accreditation, you are given a piece of paper that has what type of pass you got, like whether it's media pass, general public pass, camping pass, general camping, all that jazz. But obviously for mine, it had Marshall's pass, or Marshall's Village pass. I probably should have bought this probably should have brought this in so I could show you, but that's in my car. It's not hanging on my car, but it's still in my car. I forgot to take that out. So yeah, I had no issue going through the first couple of points. I just pointed at what mark it is, and they just said, "Yep, that's fine. You can keep going." But yeah, when I got to the security guard at the marshal's village, he, yeah, I drove up to him. I point at the thing on my car, or he's like, "Oh, do you have any accreditation?" So I point the thing at my car, and I think he goes, "Yeah, that's fine." So I go, and then I just hear him going, "Oi, oi, wait." I'm thinking, what's your problem? And he's like to me, "Oh, where's your accreditation?" And I'm pointing at it on my car, and I'm saying, "That's my accreditation." And he's like to me, "Oh, no, that's one of the old ones." And I said straight out to him, "Well, that was what I was given at accreditation earlier. So if there's any issue, that's their problem, not mine. I can't control what they bloody give me or not." And I mean, I did have the lanyard still on me, so I went to get that out to show him, just for proof that I'm a fucking track marshal, not a person, not just a random person arriving to try and steal a spot in the marshals. And yeah, eventually like, fine, just go. I'm thinking, thank fuck. Thinking I've had enough fucking shit for today. And so I made sure that I would not drive for the rest of the weekend, which, I mean, even if I wanted to, there wasn't really a lot of time for me to do so. So, but yeah, I still wanted to, still made sure I didn't do it the rest of the weekend. But then the fun then began when I came back, and I can't remember what the context is. I think I was just trying to get something out of my wallet. And then I noticed, oh shit, I don't have my driver's license on me. Where the hell is my driver's license gone? And I'm kind of thinking, retracing my steps and thinking, okay, this is either in one of four places. It's either in my car, it's either fell out of my pocket somehow when I was walking down to the master shed. It either fell out of my pocket whilst I was in the master shed, which I thought was probably my most likely result. Or fourthly, it somehow fell out of my pocket when I was at the supermarket. So I kind of spend the next couple of hours thinking, where the fuck's my driver's license? What the hell have I done with it? Because I'm thinking, oh shit, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be a pain in the ass. I know there's gonna be a lot of police officers in the area. There's probably gonna be a lot of birthdays in the area, and I don't exactly want to be pulled over. And when they go to ask for driver's license, I don't have it on me. So I just kind of take the next couple of hours, have a look through, my tent, have a look through my car, one in there, one in the tent. So kind of thinking, well, let's just go for a walk down to the master shed. If it's not there, we'll go have a walk to accreditation, have a look there, or in case anything somehow got dropped there. Because I mean, it was a pretty nice night, so I thought, well, let's go for a walk. So yeah, I walk down to where the gate is to enter for accreditation. It wasn't there. So I thought, oh well, we'll go back to the accreditation center, have a look there. It wasn't there. And kind of in the thought of my mind, I'm thinking, don't tell me it was somehow hidden in my phone and I didn't even realize. Turns out it was. It was hidden. Actually, I'll show you. We'll just shuffle it up a little bit. So basically, when I had a look at my phone, I noticed this little light reflecting off the back. I'm thinking, what the hell? Oh god, don't tell me it is. I pulled it out, and yes, it was my driver's license. I would like, as much as I would like to show you it, I do not feel comfortable showcasing my ID on a live stream, so that's not happening. So yeah, I walk back up to my camp feeling ridiculous. But I mean, I still got a pretty decent walk out of it. So yeah, the rest of the day after that was just basically making myself comfortable, having some snacks for dinner, and yeah, then making sure I had a pretty early night, since I had to be up for about, well, yeah, pretty much 20 to 6, because the briefing started at 6:15. So obviously wanted to make sure you wake up with a fair bit of time so your mind can wake up. And so that way, when you arrive at the muster shed, you're not a complete brain dead zombie. You can be at least 90% of a brain dead zombie. So yeah, that's pretty much a Thursday in the short term. Yeah, definitely not a lot of positive things to talk about in regards to that. But it's definitely not. It was definitely interesting. So anyway, we now move on to the Friday. So I wake up probably about 20 past 5 in the morning. So just had a look at a couple of YouTube videos on my phone to kind of get that little bit of stimulation in my brain. And then yeah, dragged myself up, got changed, and then yeah, headed to the pickup point for the marshals, which wasn't too far away from where my tent is. It was probably about 200 meters away. So at least that was one positive with where my tent was. Wasn't that far of a walk to get to and from the pickup point for the marshals. So yeah, it was this time where I got to meet my sector leader. Oh yeah, and also on a Thursday, you also learn what corner you're on, and I guess you get to see the names of the other people you're with, but generally you don't really know them until you actually meet them on a Friday. So for those wondering, I was on Sector 2 left, which for those, at least in regards to a track context, it's basically the entry point of Turn 2, which is Southern Loop, I think it's called. So yeah, that corner, well, Turn 1 had also changed a little bit. That also there's kind of a little bit to also know about the weekend is that this is also the weekend where they trialed a new marshal post, because Turn 1 had changed, and there was a wall extension, so they were able to put a marshal point right in the middle, which kind of did change things for how our weekend would turn out to be. So yeah, back to the Friday. So I meet my sector leader. He gives me the radio for our sector. So for each sector. Well, okay. So for each sector, if it's flag and track, you get given 2 radios, one for the flag, one for the track. But if you are on a mark that's just got trackies, you isn't. Well, if it's either just flags or track, then you only get the 1 radio. So yeah, fair to say it was a very, very warm day. I think it was about 26 or 28 degrees for a top, which under all circumstances doesn't sound that bad. It's easy. Just put on a t-shirt and some shorts and you'll be right. But obviously with us, we had to wear the big orange tracksuit and the tabard, and we also had to wear gloves as well because the bikes are fucking hot when you pick them up, so you have to wear gloves unless you want your hands to basically evaporate. In regards to the Friday for our sector, there really wasn't a lot that happened in our part. Probably the worst of it was in the Moto 3, and I do really feel really sorry for this guy. His name is Scott Ogden. I think that's how his name is pronounced. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I can't help but feel bad for the guy. So in the first session, probably not even 5 minutes into the session, I look at the corner of my eye and I see him coming to a stop. Now, the only reason why whilst our point was closest, we weren't able to get to him because he was on the other side of the track. So that's kind of the number one rule when it comes to track marshalling. We are not allowed to cross a live track. So yeah, well, as I said, whilst our point was closest, because he was on the right side of the circuit, we couldn't get to him. So the people who were at 1 point, I don't really recall what point they're at. I think it's 1.8, right? I think that's what they're called. That they had to run down probably a good 200 odd meters to get him, and then they had to take him all the way to the wall, which is around where sector 2, where point 2 right is. That's probably at least a good 200 meters away. So that, yeah, basically dragged the bike up there. So yeah, we thought, okay, that's fine. Just an electrical issue for him. That's fine as is. Off he goes. It's not the way you want to start your weekend, but that's life. Yeah. Then sector 2, then practice 2 comes in, and probably 10 minutes in, we're watching them as they come through our corner, and yeah, he comes through, or Scott comes through, and we hear nothing. The either engine had cut out or the electrical had cut out. He just had no power in it. So for a second, we did think that we were going to be in it and that he was going to come to our point. But thankfully, he did the smart thing and just kept going straight. And that was where he met point 2, point 3. I think that's what they were called. So they were the ones who were in charge of looking after him and all that, and taking the bike, getting that off the circuit. So unfortunately for him, that was where his weekend ended, as far as I'm aware. Because unfortunately he basically had to withdraw from the weekend. So yeah, that's whilst I know Aussies and Brits don't really get along and like hanging shit on each other and all that. You don't want to see anybody have to go through something like that and have their weekend ended through something that's beyond their control. So aside from that, it wasn't really a lot to really discuss from our point. There were some other things happening around the track, like Marc Marquez crashing twice in turn 10 for the first two practice sessions. But mostly, a lot of the time, it was pretty much turn 4 was getting all the fun with basically everybody running into some form of issues down turn 4. And as I said, I had the headset on that connected to the race control. Well, for most of the day, there were a few times where I passed it on to one of the other guys to do for a session. So after that, as I said, there wasn't a lot that really happened to really discuss. So after that, so after the end of the day, we take our stuff, go back to the master shed for, I guess, an end of day briefing and to have something to snack about before we eventually head on back to, well, head on back home or back to our camping area for the night. So on the Friday, there were two people we got to meet. The first one was Colin Vaya. Pretty sure that's how his name is pronounced. He's a Dutch rider for Husqvarna. So he seemed like a pretty decent person to chat to. Admittedly, he didn't really hang around for very long. Once he'd done the questions with the interviewer, he kind of scooted off pretty much within a couple of minutes. So, I mean, yeah, if he's got to go, he's got to go. But yeah, and I still greatly appreciate him coming to say hello and thanking us all for doing all this and yeah, and all that jazz. But yeah, that's life. But it was then after this we got the opportunity to meet somebody by the name of Wayne Gardner. Yes, Wayne Gardner came to say hello to us track marshals. It is a fucking terrifying experience getting to meet all these basically the best motorcycle races that Australia has ever produced. So for me, I guess if we were to go back to World Supers, when we did World Supers, I got to meet Mick Doohan. And then, yeah, for MotoGP, got to meet Wayne Gardner. So I've pretty much completed the holy trinity of Australian motorcycle races. Probably the only name missing now is probably Casey Stoner. He's probably the only guy who I'm yet to meet, I guess in regards to top Australian motorcycle races. I mean, yes, there is Jack Miller, but he's probably a little bit, not quite at that point yet. Whilst he does have a corner named after him, he just needs to improve slightly to get to that point. And then, of course, it was about this time where we received the news that the main race was getting moved from the Saturday, getting moved from the Sunday to the Saturday, and the sprint race getting moved to the Sunday. Which, I mean, at the time, I wasn't too fond of the idea. I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I don't really like. I mean, I'll be honest. I'll say it straight out. I hate sprint races of an idea. I hate it. I feel like it's just a complete and utter gimmick that that series use to try and keep hyping up the idea and trying to keep the championship as open as possible that it can go to the final race. Like, stop manufacturing that shit. If it ends up being that it comes down to the last race, it comes down to the last race. If somebody wins before the last race, nobody cares. It's, yeah, whoever wins at the end of the season, they win. They earned it. We don't need any bullshit manufacturing and money grabbing to try and accomplish these things. At the end of the day, if you win the championship, you win the championship. If you don't, you don't. Anyway, so after meeting Wayne Gardner, yeah, that was about when I got organised to head on back to my camp area because I was fucking hot and dehydrated. Well, yes, I had been drinking water and Gatorade throughout the day. It changed nothing. It still felt dehydrated, and yeah, it was not very fun to go through. Um, so yeah, I headed back to the camp area. Had a quick shower, showers that are provided to us at the village. Unfortunately, showers weren't that great, but you can't exactly ask for too much. Can't exactly ask for luxury, can you? So after that, I rang my mum, and then after that, I got organised to pretty much. Well, might have looked at a few things on my phone to look at other motorsports news going on around the world since I couldn't really follow it. Because whilst generally, yes, you do get a lot of time. Well, yes, you do get time to look at these things and all that. You generally only get about 15-minute gap between from one event ending to one event starting, and so yeah, generally a lot of time you're spending a lot of that like having something to eat, having something to snack, having something to drink, and then once done all that, and also getting to know the other people with you in the area. So where I was, there were two people on flags. It was a sector leader, and then three of us were trackies. That was our group. I will say that it is really interesting to know or to really find out all these stories about where everybody comes from to come to these events, and it's actually quite scary at times to see how far people are willing to come just to volunteer at a bike race. That's pretty much the gist of it. Yes, we don't get paid to go there. We volunteer our time. We sacrifice 4 days, pretty much, to go do these things with with effectively no financial gain. But yeah, like one of the people who I was with, he was from Sri Lanka and was a student down here and came to volunteer. I mean, another person, she was from Colombia and was a student and volunteered at the circuit. When I did the World Supers last year, I met one of the people who I was with. She was from Japan and literally only came to Australia to volunteer at the circuit. They really say that motorsports is pretty much a universal language. And I know a lot of people probably won't, or some people probably won't agree with me, but until you're really in that situation and you're meeting people from basically all around the world, you really do realize exactly motorsports how far motorsports is to everybody and how much it means to people all around the world, not just in your country. And yeah, it's really cool to experience. I will tell you that much. So that was the Friday. So the Saturday then comes up. Saturday was, well, debatably, I can say Saturday was the best day weather-wise because it wasn't boiling hot and wasn't exactly cold either. It was basically right in the middle where it's bearable and that you're able to do these things without any real issues. Um, oh, hang on. I forgot to show you. Actually, no, I can wait. So yeah, Saturday was pretty decent weather. I think it was about 16 degrees Celsius. Yes, we use Celsius in Australia, not Fahrenheit. So yeah, it's pretty much the start of the day was pretty much the same. Wake up, wake up early, get changed, get on the bus. Yeah, get to the master shed, sign in, get the radio, head sit down, go through the morning briefings. Wait, hang on, no, not quite the same. Because after our briefing, we then went to the pit lane, and that was where we got the group photo with all the marshals. So it's pretty much everybody. So all the track marshals, all the medical marshals, all the pit lane marshals, scrutineers, everybody, every nook and cranny and all that jazz. So it's really until you see the photos come up, you have no idea how many people are down there. There is a lot of people. There is probably at least 400 people. Because obviously, well, for each corner, you probably need 5 people, so that's already 60 people for the corners. Then obviously there are points in the middle that sometimes there are 2 or 3 points in the corners. That's already another 30 odd people. Then obviously there are medical personnel as well. They're completely separate. And then we've got all the technical motor taxi, recovery. There's way too many people of what you realize until you actually see that photo come up. So yeah, it was after that. Well, we could have caught the bus to our spot, but considering our corner is just basically 200 meters away, we just walked down. And even then, I am never going to say no to walking on a world-class circuit. Like, you very rarely get the opportunity to do these things, to walk on a world-class circuit like Phillip Island. So I am not going to take down that opportunity to go and walk and do that. Like if I was up probably turn 6, turn 8, it's way up the other end of the circuit, then maybe I would catch the bus. But aside from that, no. I'm not fucking walking 200 odd meters when I want to really let it sink in and experience, to get the experience of walking on a world class circuit like Phillip Island, because you don't get this opportunity every day. So, yeah, if you ever get the opportunity, do it. Um, so, kind of after we go to our sports, in regards to incidents, there wasn't anything of note really in our part. The only part we had was in MotoGP practice 3. Luca Marini ran wide at our corner and went straight on a little bit. I did look at my sector leader to if he wanted me to do the call for it, but he said the other point will do it since that's where he's going. And plus, I wasn't sure whether he was going to come back on track or not. So, because it kind of where he was going, you see him for a little bit, and then you kind of lose him because he goes down a little hill. So, kind of when that happens, I can't exactly call for it because when that happens, race control wants to know about the bike. Is he coming back out on track? Or is he retiring from the session? Is he technical? Or anything of that nature? So obviously we don't know because we can't see them. So it's not really a reason for us to call it. But in Moto, and obviously after that, we then got into qualifying. It was certainly a mixed bag, that's for sure. We certainly had quite a few near punch-ups occurring due to people blocking people in runs. Was it in qualifying? Yeah, that was in qualifying, but okay, maybe it was in Moto 3. In Moto 3 qualifying, where some people kind of blocked some other people when they're either on a really good lap or about to be on a good lap. Actually, yes, it was Moto 3 because they were coming to the line, and I presume they were on a good lap, and obviously they kind of just got mixed up with each other and it ruined their lap. Because when they got to us at turn 2, or past us at turn 2, kind of the start of turn 3, we're seeing them come through and they're like, and there's hand raising going on, fists in the air, like, what are you doing? What'd you do that for? We're just standing back thinking it's going to be a bloody punch-up. So this is probably the highlight of our day, because admittedly we hadn't had anything really going on. Everything was bloody going on at turn 4. So we enjoyed sitting back and watching them having their yelling match, but whilst they're still moving and hoping they don't stack them, otherwise we're going to go running after them to get them back on their bike. Actually, hang on. There was one other thing in Moto 2 on the Friday. At the end of a practice session, they're allowed to do practice starts at a certain part of the track. It's basically between turn 2 and turn 3. There's a straight, probably about 400, 500 odd meters, where they're allowed to do their practice starts in that area. Unfortunately, for one of them, I can't recall who it was off the top of my head. He had stopped to get the bike into starter mode and all that. But when he did that, the bike wouldn't restart, and he stalled the damn thing. So we're kind of thinking, well, what do we do? Because there isn't any marshals there. So would we have to go running after him? But in the end, the marshals from 1.3, I think, had to run across the grassy patch, probably about 400 odd meters, to help get him jump started again so he could go back to the pits. So yeah, that was pretty amusing for us to watch. So anyway, back to the qualifying. So it was good news for us Australian fellows with Joel Kelso finishing P2 or qualifying position 2, just over a tenth off the pole time by Ayumu Sasaki, who, if memory serves me correctly, he was pretty much tailing his teammate the whole session, which I would say he would have just been it would have been getting a toe off. I think it was the number. Actually, no, it wouldn't be the number 18 because they're not the same. She might have been his teammate, number 95, Bayer. And yeah, they were just basically following each other the whole session, and Sasaki would have been getting the boost off it. And even before seeing timing, I had a feeling he'd gotten pole, because when they came past us, they were fist pumping and shaking hands of, yeah, we done it. So I thought, okay, he's the one who's got pole. So the top, well, might as well go through the top 10. It was Sasaki, Kelso, Stefano Nepa, Diogo Moriera, who we'll get to very, very shortly. There is a lot to say about that. Matteo Bertelli, Colin Vea, Denis Onshu, David Alonso, Adrian Fernandez, and Vicente Perez, who was actually a substitute rider for this round, so it's certainly a nice run for him. In Moto 2, I don't think there was really a lot that happened there either. With Vermin Aljagura qualifying on pole, from Adrian Canet, Alonso Lopez, Joe Roberts, Pedro Acosta, Jake Dixon, Sergio Garcia, Tony Arbolino, Darren Binder, and Manuel Gonzalez rounding out the top 10. There weren't any Aussies in Moto 2, which, I mean, I'm not too surprised about. Our Motorsports sponsorship system's a bit stupid, so of course we wouldn't want to be supporting our local talent. Why would we want to do that? So in the end, as I said, Moto2, there wasn't much to really talk about, at least in qualifying. But I did have a bit of a stupid moment when one of the other people who I was marshalling with, he had a look at the handbook and he's like, "Oh, there isn't any Australians in Moto2." And I stupidly said, "Oh, yeah, there isn't any." And I said, "Oh, I can't even remember the last Australian to compete in Moto2." Dumbass. Remy Gardner. He only won the damn thing in 2019 or 2020, whichever what he was. Maybe 2021. But duh, he was only in there a couple of years ago. Far out, dumbass. And also, whilst we are talking about the Gardeners, it was really interesting hearing Wayne talking to a couple of people about Remy, that he might have made some silly mistakes along the way that possibly cost him his run in MotoGP. So I'm obviously not going to reveal it because, well, firstly, he wasn't talking to me, he was talking to some other people, but I overheard it. Well, I was more just standing there waiting to get my bloody photo. But yes, it was very, very interesting to listen to. So then, obviously, MotoGP qualifying. Actually, hang on. Another thing that was stupid with the scheduling is rather than doing Moto3 qualifying and Moto2 qualifying and MotoGP qualifying, it was MotoGP qualifying, then Moto3 qualifying, then Moto2 qualifying. What the actual fuck? So anyway, Jorge Martin, who had shown pace all the way through practice, he was fastest in practice 1, fastest in practice 2, I presume he was fastest in practice 3. He topped the timesheets in qualifying, and actually also set a new lap record, beating his previous best by about, I think it was just over 5/10 of a second. So far out, he was a bloody rocket in qualifying. And then it was Brad Binder, who qualified really, really well for him. It was a very, very good run for the KTM. And then it was Checo Bagnaia, Aleix Espargaro, who had a bit of a run-in with Aussie boy Jack Miller. Then it was Johan Zarco, Fabio Di Gianantonio, Marc Marquez, who also had to go the long way to get into Q2. Then Jack Miller was in 8th, Maverick Vinales was in 9th, and Marco Bezzecchi was rounded out the top 10. So yes, as I did just allude to, Aleix Espargaro and Jack Miller had a bit of a run-in towards the end of qualifying. It was really, really messy. I firmly believe they just absolutely screwed up their timing and thought they only had time to do one flying lap when there was still a minute to go, so they could have done another lap. But they all went down through turn 1 and were coming up to us quite slowly. And then Jack, who apparently screwed up his first lap, or it wasn't quite up to his satisfaction, so he was still going for a run to set another lap, or try and set a quicker lap time to get a bit further up the field. Because I mean, he only needed a tenth, or pretty much 2/10, and he was in the top 5. That's all he needed. Yeah, because a lot of other riders had slowed up, and then Aleix Espargaro kind of got in his way. Excuse me. It kind of screwed up any hope he had of getting a decent lap time. Which, yeah, it sucked for Jack, but hey, 7th place is, well, actually, hang on, 8th place is still quite respectable for Mr. Miller, and it put him in a pretty nice spot for, well, for the race. And, well, really, it felt like it was a foregone conclusion, if I'm being honest. And yeah, obviously Alex Rins, who won last year, unfortunately he withdrew due to some underlying issues with his leg. He went to go get some CT scans. I haven't come across what the results are of that. Hopefully he can have a speedy recovery, and hopefully he can be back on the bike in Thailand. If not, hopefully he's back on before the end of the year. So yeah, the MotoGP race kind of felt like a bit of a formality when Martin kind of waltzed ahead of everybody, and he was about 3.5 seconds ahead within like 5 or 6 laps. So we're thinking, okay, that's it. He's gone now. All he's got to do is just manage his tires and just keep his head clean, and he'll be fine. But then, with a few laps to go, we then noticed, because unfortunately, where we were, there weren't any screens. Well, in actuality, there was, but they weren't in the right spots for us. There was one at the entry of turn 1, but obviously we can't really watch that because we have to watch the part in our section. So and then we have our back turned to the screen. And then, well, there was a screen also to our left, but it wasn't. But it was pointed towards the grandstand, so all we could see was the back of it. So as I said, Martin kind of just vaulted away. So we thought, okay, that's it. Martin's won. Sign, seal it, and deliver it. Send it home and check it twice because Martin's gonna win, and I guess that's nice. But yeah, the last few laps, we see the gap of the group of bikes behind him. That was Binder, Bagnaia, DG Antonio, and Zarco. Just gradually, the gap between the 4 of them and Martin's just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and we're still thinking, yeah, nah, Martin's got it. He's not going to have any real issues. He should be able to. He's got a big enough lead for a few laps to go. He'll be fine. And then the last lap, they come past us, and they're basically nose to tail. We're thinking, hang on a bloody second, what the hell's happened? What the hell happened to Jorge? He was bloody leading by 2 seconds a couple laps ago. Why the hell are they nose to tail? Did he make a mistake? Did he make an error? Like, what on earth? So unfortunately, we couldn't really follow along the action because of how spread out the field kind of became. I mean, we could kind of look at the screen at times to see the field come from turn 1 back to us. But yeah, it just wasn't. We couldn't really follow along with it, unfortunately. We could kind of hear at times the announcers going through the loudspeaker, but it's like, there's a out. No, wait, no. Here comes the bike. Oh, wait, no, another bike. Another 2 bikes. They crash. No, back up. No, another bike coming. Here comes the back markers. Oh, they're pretty much at the end now. Ah, shit. Oh well. But yeah, I did watch it back earlier today. I'm watching the ending. I mean, it's a bittersweet victory, I reckon, because for Johann Zarco to finally win his first MotoGP race after pretty much forever, for him to finally break through and get a victory, I'm sure for him it is bittersweet. Whilst it did come at the expense of his teammate, Martin, to see Zarco win was very, very cool and very, very deserving. And yeah, just in the fashion that he won, it's those types of finishes that Phillip Island need, which I will get to as well. So in the end, the finishing order was Zarco, Bagnaia, Di Giannantonio, Fabio Di Giannantonio getting a podium finish, his first ever podium in MotoGP. The guy who, in just over 2 months, is effectively unemployed at this stage. Because he is losing his ride at Ducati for a guy by the name of Marc Marquez. I'm not sure if he's accomplished much, but yeah, Marc Marquez is currently being brought in to take Mr. Di Giannantonio's seat. And to really make a difference of 12 months. 12 months ago, Di Giannantonio was a complete backmarker. To put into perspective, when they were at Phillip Island last year, when I was a spectator, he was up the back battling with can't remember his name, but he was a wild card rider. It was Tetsuta Nakashima. That's who he was battling with. He was battling with a wild card. A guy who doesn't even ride full time. That's who Di Giannantonio was battling with, and he finished behind him. And on a Honda too. Well, Nakashima was on a Honda. Di Giannantonio was on a Ducati. Nowadays, that does not happen. Because unfortunately, Honda has been shit this year. So yeah, to see him come up with such a great result after, well, him basically being unemployed in just over 2 months' time. Hopefully, with the way he's gone this year, surely somebody's going to sign him up, whether it's World Supers or Moto 2 or anything of that nature. I mean, I'm sure he's got something lined up that just hasn't been announced yet. But yeah, hopefully he's back out there in some way, shape, or capacity next year. Then it was Brad Binder in fourth. Jorge Martin fell in one lap. He went from first to fifth. What a drop. And also, Binder was also kind of left out to dry as well. He could have very easily won that race, but when Zarco kind of did his dive bomb on Martin, it kind of then moved Binder offline, and then got DJ Antonio back through. It looked like Binder was at second, pretty much delivered, but then unfortunately on that last lap he got caught a little bit wide, and then Bagnaia and DJ Antonio snuck back through, but he did eventually get back past Martin for at least a fourth place finish. And then after that, there was basically the second group of riders. That was Marco Bezzecchi, Jack Miller, Alicia Spargaro, Alex Marquez, and Enea Bastianini rounded out the top 10. Then it was Maverick Vinales, finished 11th. Luca Marini finished 12th. Miguel Oliveira finished 13th. Fabio Quartararo, oh my god. I feel really bad for the Yamahas. They were nowhere all weekend, all through qualifying. They were nowhere. Right, they qualified. Quartararo, he finished 16th. Well, qualified 16th and finished 14th. But that was probably only really because some of the other riders ahead of him tried the soft tyre strategy, which is what Martin did as well. But like Martin, their tyres then dropped like a stone and they fell all the way back down the field. That's literally the only reason Quartararo finished as high as he did. But even then, 14th, that is nothing. And yeah, it's quite clear something was not right with that Yamaha this weekend. Then it was Marc Marquez, who was one of the riders who took the soft tyre gamble. At one stage, he was knocking on the door of the top 5, but then once the soft tyres ran out, he dropped way down. And then he got overtaken by Quartararo on the last lap. So he got 15th and the final point. The non-point finishes were Raul Fernandez, Franco Morbidelli. Actually, hang on. No. These last 3 positions, this was a hell of a battle. So I guess we'll just point out 2 of the names because the third name kind of came in a bit later. Franco Morbidelli and Taka Nakagami. No offense to Taki, but I thought he'd retired and I thought he'd left MotoGP. I honestly didn't even realize he was still in MotoGP this year. So I guess that kind of shows how miserable it's been for Honda this year, considering the fact that I honestly did not even realize that Taka Nakagami was even in the MotoGP series. Or still in the MotoGP series. Sorry. I guess for Taki it would be mildly an excuse, considering he hadn't been at Phillip Island 4 years. Taki was kind of nowhere all weekend and was the slowest in qualifying. Even in the race, for most of it, he was just riding on his own. He was a good 3 or 4 seconds behind the nearest bike, which was Morbidelli. And then kind of in the last few laps, this was not covered in the broadcast, which of course it wouldn't. Why would they cover a backmarker battle? And it also felt like it was Nakashima versus Di Antonio again, where the backmarkers are having their own little battle to see who can not be the last to finish. So with a few laps to go, it's probably 3 laps to go. Well, probably 4 laps to go, I reckon. Nakagami was pretty much right behind Morbidelli, and we're thinking, okay, he's going to have a dive here. He's going to have a go at him. He didn't have a go at him that lap, but when he came back through, he had a go at him in 1. Unfortunately, he couldn't quite stick it and ran wide, so Morbidelli got back past, and then created a last little bit more of a buffer. We thought, okay, so I guess that's probably the end of that. Then on the last lap, they come back through to us, and we realize they're back being nose to tail. Okay, maybe Nakagami will get Morbidelli. And then what we didn't realize was Paulo Spargaro, who also had the soft tire strategy, he was dropping like a stone and was getting closer and closer and closer to them. And in the end, it was a 3-bike battle for 17th to 19th. So in the end, this is how close the gaps were. So Morbidelli got 17th. He was 37.663 seconds behind the leader. Paulo Spargaro was 18th. He was 37.668 seconds off the leader. So they were separated by 5 thousandths of a second. 5 thousandths. That's less than the time it takes to click a finger. That's how close they were in the end. And then, yeah, Nakagami was last, but he was 37.758 seconds off. So he was not even a tenth behind. And we did think that Nakagami probably got him, but I had a quick look at the results, and yeah, I said Nakagami was last. So. And then the non-finishers were Augusto Fernandez and John Mir. They basically crashed at turn 4 in consecutive laps. There's not really much to talk about in regards to that. Mir kind of lost it when he was battling Marini, and Fernandez kind of lost it on his own. So, yeah, there isn't really much to talk about there. And obviously during the day, about halfway through the day, we get word from race control that the Sunday had been changed further. That it was, rather than 6:15 sign on, it was 6 o'clock sign on, 6:15 briefing, be at our point by 7:20. So it's probably a good half an hour difference. So they could try to get a warm up, which is something they had never done before for Moto3 and Moto2, as well as MotoGP, before the races, to try and see if they can somehow get the sprint race in on time. Spoiler alert, we didn't think it was ever going to be done. So yeah, and kind of on Saturday night is our big Marshall's barbecue thing, where they give out awards to people who had done it for 10 years plus. Yeah, get our own barbecue, and well, did get a chance to visit the merchandise area, which I took advantage of, especially with our 20% discount for being a track marshal. So this is what I got, because since I couldn't get the official t-shirt because I was too late getting my order in, so I'll quickly hop up and show it to you guys. So yeah, that's the front, Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix, and on the back here is basically an overarch of all the races that I've done across the season, which I thought was pretty cool to see. Well, I do admit I was a little bit disappointed with the Marshall stuff that they had offered. They only basically had Australian Grand Prix sponsored stuff and Jack Miller sponsored stuff. All the other stuff was all in the infield. But probably by then they'd all closed, which sucks because, well, we don't have time to get to these things. We can't. Well, yes, they do say, oh, you get 20% discount for all your merchandise stuff. Show your lanyard and you'll get 20% discount. Well, that's all well and good, but we can't really use it if it's back and closed before we're done. So anyway, so it was that night that we got the opportunity to meet Australian Moto3 rider Joel Kelso. And yes, he seems like a pretty down-to-earth guy. It was quite cool meeting him, got to take a photo with him. And also, in our MotoGP pamphlet, or booklet, because the book was dark coloured, probably won't say that word because I'll probably get cancelled. I thought, how can I make this work? How can I get them to sign things without it getting kind of camouflaged into the booklet? So I kind of came up with a bright idea of, okay, well, the section here is based on Joel Kelso, so I'll get him to sign there in his part about himself. So if I did meet Colin Vaya and got him to sign, I probably would have got him to sign in there. That's got the Moto3 entry list. Admittedly, I probably didn't really quite get to him in time. Then you probably think, okay, so where did you get Wayne Gardner to sign his things? Because he's not a rider anymore, so why would he have his own section? Well, in actuality, he did. He had, once I get to it, MotoGP, rider profiles. Here we go. In Epic Island Moments, which I thought was absolutely perfect for me to use. I got him to sign that because just right next to it is when he won his first, I'll say this was the first MotoGP in 1990. And his then fiance, I presume wife now, went to go congratulate him at the line. I ran out to go congratulate him at the line after he won. I thought that's the perfect spot that I can get him to sign it, rather than just doing it on the front, where it's probably going to get lost in it. So, oh shit, I'm a bit too time here. So yeah, it's kind of after that, went back to, well, I didn't get back to my campsite till pretty late. It was about 8 o'clock at night. So I didn't really do much, just basically went straight to bed. Then obviously woke up pretty early Sunday morning, and yeah, let's just say this day was very, very different to the first couple of days. So kind of before we even got to our spot, it had already been raining quite heavily. Well, it wasn't really the rain that they were worried about, it was the wind that they were worried about. So yeah, we head over to our point, sign on. I don't get the radio today because somebody else got in before me, so they got given the radio, but they gave it back. They gave it over to me when we got to our marshal point. Yeah, morning briefing, all that jazz. Then went back up to our marshal point, got ready, had the checks and all that jazz. So yeah, then obviously after this was the Moto3 warm up. Then the Moto3 warm up was first. They kind of went without any real issue. There was probably, well, there was one crash at turn 3, but yeah, it was on the other side of the track, so we couldn't get to them. Then Moto2 warm-up came in, and holy shit, was this chaotic. There was probably a good 4 crashes in just that 10-minute period. And it's kind of about now where we're kind of thinking, hang on, if they can't keep their bikes on track at this wind, it's going to get worse before it gets better. So how the hell are they going to race in this? If they can't even keep it on track for a warm-up, what hope do they have in the race? So sorry, I'm just looking at my little cheat sheet here. So yeah, Moto2 was a little bit chaotic, and MotoGP was standard. I don't think there were any crashes in it. It possibly was, but I can't actually remember. So okay. Now, this is where shit hits the fan. So the Moto3 bikes go out for their formation lap, or their formation lap, so they can go out of the pits to go line up. So Diogo Moreira, he comes through our corner, and I presume he just loses the front end or something, and skids along the ground, and we're watching him then to make sure he's not on the track, because he's on the track, and it's our responsibility. If he goes on the grass, that's the other responsibility. He ends up on the grass, so we're thinking, okay, that's the other master's responsibility. So we'll keep watching everybody else as they come through. But I mean, pretty much straight away, I've noticed that something isn't quite right. And he kind of falls over, and when he stands back up, he's kind of just standing there, like he was kind of just spaced out. And I know they did say that generally when the riders fall over, like, oh my god, what happened? Why did I lose the bike? What happened for a good 12 odd seconds whilst they fathom that they crashed? But yeah, something just did not feel right. And I'm thinking, yeah, something's not really right about this guy. Well, yeah, something's just not quite adding up. So yes, he goes to go do his medical tests or whatever, but he passed it apparently, because whilst he did, he'd have to start from the race in pit lane. So yeah, we thought he was done. But yeah, he started from pit lane and then came back out. He only did about 5 laps and then he retired the bike. Now, this is where things get interesting. Diogo Moreira released the following statement. We have to keep the positive part of the weekend. We were strong during all the sessions. During the warm-up lap, I crashed and hit my head, which made me lose consciousness. I have to thank everyone for the help and concern. Now it's time to think about Thailand. We will continue to give 100% to get a good result. Yes, Diego Moreira hit his head, lost consciousness, but was allowed to participate in the race within 10 minutes despite losing consciousness. What the actual fuck? Honestly, as much as I love my home Grand Prix, I love it intently. I'd love it to be on the calendar forever. But what the actual fuck is going on? Like, we look back to just last year when Jorge Navarro nearly lost his fucking leg after getting run over, but they refused to throw the red flag despite the ambulance getting bogged and having real trouble getting to him and getting to the medical center so he could be flown to Melbourne for treatment to stop his fucking leg from getting amputated. What the fuck is going on with Phillip Island Medical? Pull your fucking head in before something bad happens. Because whether you like it or not, it is going to, whether you want to admit it or not. It is 2 years in a row where you have had some form of injury controversy. This is not the look you want to give. Because he could have easily fallen over in those conditions. He could have easily fallen over, hit his head again, and then what? Because generally, it's not the first hit that does the damage, it's the second. Because he is already in a compromised state from the first incident, but you put him back out there because apparently he's medically cleared. And then what happens? What happens if he falls at turn one? That's over 300 kilometers an hour. And then hits his head again. And then he's paralyzed. Then what the fuck do you do? How the hell could you explain that to his family, to his friends, and say, oh, yeah, well, he was actually unconscious after his first hit, but they let him back out anyway? What the fuck? Anyway, so yeah, aside from that, it seemed like it was going to be Suzuki's race to win before he crashed at turn 5. I actually can't remember what corner it was. Well, it might have been turn 8. He crashed as a lead, and then it was kind of a two-bike battle between Dennis Onshu and Ayumi Suzuki. Actually, it wasn't him who crashed out of the lead. It was Adrian Fernandez. He crashed out of the lead. Okay, I'll get my names right eventually. There was Fernandez who crashed out of the lead, and then two bike battle between Suzuki and Onshu, with Onshu taking the lead on the final lap to win the race from Suzuki, and Joe Kelso for Australia got his first ever Moto3 podium at his home Grand Prix with a third place finish. And yeah, we're all excited for that. We're all happy for him. Good to see an Aussie finishing really great, getting a podium in his home Grand Prix, getting that opportunity to stand on the podium in front of his home fans. Would have been better if it was a top step, but oh well, it's a start, it's somewhere. And it's a great little morale boost that we all need, considering the weather's shitty, and we know it's probably not much is going to happen today, but awesome! Yeah! And then they kind of went downhill again. And after this was the Moto2 race. And yeah, this race became a survival of the fittest very, very fast. Because even before the race started, Who was it? Pedro Acosta, that's who it was. He lost the bike on the sighting lap before he even got to bloody pit lane. And then, even on the warm-up lap, like 3 bikes fell over. So, what the hell? I mean, even in Moto3 towards the end, there were quite a few bikes falling over. There was only, well, 18 finishes, but quite a few of them had their own issues throughout the race. Yeah, Moto2, holy shit, this race got bad real fast. So Tony Arbolino, he basically, he was pretty much in his own postcode the whole race. And yeah, it seemed like as long as he kept the bike on track, he was going to be fine. He was going to win it fine, without any real issues. But yes, very, very quickly, the amount of words going through the headset, the amount of corners having issues sparked up real fast. There were crashes at turn 3, there were crashes at turn 10, there were crashes at turn 11, there were crashes at turn 8, crashes at turn 6. There were bikes blurred out everywhere. And the wind was starting to get worse and worse and worse, to the point where us marshals, the wind was that strong, it was almost pushing us off our feet. That's how bad it was getting, and we're pretty much thinking, just hurry up and red flag the damn thing before somebody really gets hurt. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back in the end was the wind was that strong, it was pushing people wide down the main straight into turn 1, which, spoiler alert, is not what you want if you want to enter a corner over 320 kilometers an hour. So yes, pretty much shortly after that, we get the call over the headset, red flag, red flag, red flag. Riders head back to their pits, and immediately once that comes through, we basically look at each other and go, yeah, that's it for the weekend. There is no way the sprint race is going to get run now, because it's going to get worse before it gets any better. So there is no way they're going to be doing a sprint race now. It's not happening. It's done. Weekend's done. Pack up and go. So Tony Arbolino won from Aaron Canet and Thurman Algira, completed the podium. Jeremy Alcoba, who started, I guess since with this, there were quite a few big movers throughout the race. Jeremy Alcoba, who started 19th, finished 4th. Eisen Guevara, who was last season's Moto3 world champion, he started 23rd, finished 6th. Somkit Chandra started 16th, finished 7th. Bo Benzider started 22nd, finished 7th. Tiger Harder started 26th, finished 11th. Rory Skinner started 28th, finished 12th. So there really were some big movers throughout the whole field. And then obviously there were some bikes that didn't really get much success. Because really, to put it into perspective, there was only, 8 laps ran really. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There was already 10 bikes out. There was no way they were going to complete the race. Otherwise, there's going to be nobody left. So, whilst it's not a very popular decision, it was the right decision. And anybody who says otherwise, you try standing out there and then we'll talk. But they tried to have a little bit of wisdom and going, no, we're still going to try and get the MotoGP sprint race in. We're still going to try and get it done. We're still going to try and get it in. The session will start at 12:45 for a sighting lap, and then 1 o'clock start. We're thinking, no, It's not happening. No, it's not happening. It's done. But we wait around, and then word comes through. They'll make a decision at 12:30, and we're thinking, just hurry up and can it. It's not happening. And then, yeah, pretty much 12:30 on the dot. Word comes through. Race control to all points. The sprint race will not go ahead. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Pack up your stuff, and that's it for the weekend. So I'd already had the radio headset on me, so I pretty much went straight back to the master shed. I mean, I guess I did help out a little bit with the pack up, but I didn't really want to get the fuck out of Dodge because I was pretty much a human icicle by the end of it. So yeah, went back to the master shed. Unfortunately, this is kind of where I was a little bit disappointed with the MotoGP guys, and I guess the guys in the other series as well. So a few of the MotoGP guys, there was Marini, Miller, obviously, Bagnaia, and I think Quartararo was out there as well. I can't remember. I don't recall if he was there, but I know there was at least three of them. I think it might have been one other rider. They went out to the fans and got some things signed, took some photos and all that. Which, I mean, was all well and good. I mean, I get it. You want to thank the fans for coming out and apologize for the race not going ahead and all that jazz and all that shit. But yeah, like, hello, there were race marshals all sitting around in the master shed waiting for someone to come out. Like, we thought at least somebody would come out and say hello and thank us all for the weekend. But yeah, we're just sitting around waiting. Like, no riders are coming to say hello, and I'm looking at the guy who normally does interviewing and all that, and I'm thinking, I don't exactly want to sound too harsh to him, but I'm kind of thinking like, hello, is anybody actually coming to say hello and thank us for the weekend and all that? Like, hello, and yeah, none of the MotoGP guys came over, which, I mean, I'm a little bit disappointed in them for doing because it's like all they really had to do was just say a quick hello, thank us all for the weekend. I guess answer a couple of quick questions from or interview a guy, sign some things, get some photos, probably done within 10 minutes, and then you're done. You can pack up, go to fucking Thailand, or go back to your accommodation and then get ready to head over to Thailand in the morning. But yeah, none of them came over to say hello, which I don't know if that's normal for the MotoGP guys to not really come over and say hello. Even Jack Miller, I was a little bit surprised with him. Saying hello, it's your home race, it's your home fans and all that. But yeah, as I said, whilst I am a little bit disappointed, that's life at the end of the day. So yeah, kind of shortly after that, and kind of once the interview guy said, well, it doesn't look like there's anybody coming. They did have someone lined up, but it seemed like it fell through, which sucks. But in the end, so kind of once I said that, I thought, okay, that's it. I've got to pack up and get the fuck out of Dodge because the rain's still being pretty unrelenting, wind's still being pretty strong. Like, I don't even know what the hell my campsite's going to look like, whether it's still bloody standing. I hope my car's not bogged. So yeah, kind of after that, because I'd already given him back the overalls and all that, I'd already done all that. So packed up, Oh, yeah, quickly packed up my stuff in the tent, chucked it all in the car, and got the fuck out of there. Because, yeah, I just wanted to get the fuck out of Dodge while I could. And I guess I'll have a quick word about the, well, firstly, the broadcasting was shit of the event. Good one, Channel 10. Because my mum watched the broadcast to see if she could see me through it all. But, yeah, and I watched the broadcast back today. Holy shit, you guys are fucking terrible. Like, you think Fox Sports is bad with their broadcasting? Like, at least generally they at least follow the bloody action, at least acknowledge the action's happening. Like, Channel 10, on the other hand, they didn't even acknowledge Moto 2, Moto 3. And yeah, it's focused on MotoGP race, which, I mean, fair enough, the main race, you guys got to focus on that. But at the same time, like, hello, there are, you got to sometimes see as well the stars of tomorrow coming through. Like Pedro Acosta, he's going to be MotoGP next year. Like, no one's going to know who the hell this guy is. I'm thinking, oh, okay, has he even done anything? Is he any good? Is he worth the spot? Is he, yeah, certainly, well, to say as a half-ass would be an understatement. It's probably not even a quarter-ass, probably about an eighth-half-ass. And especially since their commentary or their presenting team spend half the time talking about other sports in the area, which I think is fucking disrespectful. Like, hello, it's one of the biggest events in the Australian motorsport calendar. At least fucking acknowledge it. At least actually make a bloody effort. Because what happens if Phillip Island's off the calendar? By what happens if Phillip Island's contract's not improved, not extended? Then what the hell do we do? Because unfortunately, Channel 10 and even Channel 7, when they did the Bathurst 1000, they were fucking letdowns. They were stupid. Pull your fucking head in, guys, if you even want people to watch free-to-air TV. Enough of the fucking reality TV bullshit. And at least actually also have presenters who actually know what the hell they're talking about, rather than in-house presenters who some of them don't even know half the names. It's just a massive slap in the face. Do better. So yeah, it was a bit of a backlog getting out of the circuit. As much as I kind of hung around a little bit for the backlog to go, but far out, the Shire, because the road to get off the island, normally it's only a one-lane road, but generally for MotoGP they extend it out to 2 lanes so that they can clear a little bit of a backlog for the traffic. But for whatever reason, for Sunday, they didn't have it put in. I presume they had it put in on the Saturday, but they didn't have it put in on the Sunday. So rather than it being 2 lanes getting off, it was still just the 1 lane getting out of there. So it would be a fair bit of a backlog just trying to move a few meters. And yeah, that's basically rather than it taking a good 15-20 minutes to get off the island, took about half an hour, 35 minutes. And then obviously with a fair few trees down in the area due to the weather, it yeah, really made some things a little bit more difficult than others. And my computer's about to die, so hold on a sec whilst I put that on charge. Okay. There, yeah, pretty much after that, got home, or quickly visited my sister's so I could drop some stuff off at her place I borrowed over for the weekend. Yeah, overall, it was quite a good weekend. As I said in the caption, it was definitely 4 seasons in one day, or 4 seasons in one weekend, I should say, because pretty much Friday boiling heat wave. Saturday, decent. Sunday, shitstorm. But that is to be expected since Phillip Island kind of has their own ecosystem in a way. So that's about everything I wanted to say on here. Yeah, I am planning on going again next year and doing this again. Like I know just today the feelers came through for doing World Supers next year. I am planning on doing that next year. MotoGP, I will probably end up doing as well. So I was going to do World Supers this year, but it had a bit of a commitment clash with something else that I had going on around that time. So yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't do it this year. But I still got to do MotoGP, so at least that's something. Yeah, hopefully security improves a lot this year, or next year, I should say, because I'm hearing a lot of stories of security not being too good. And even some people had to hand over some contraband was apparently lost. So yeah, hopefully next year, yeah, the security can be a little bit better than the ones we've got. At the moment, they're kind of taking away the fun from everybody. But overall, it was a very good weekend. I look forward to the opportunity of doing it again. I had everything I needed to say. Nearly 2 hours in. Actually nobody watching. That's fine. That was to be expected. I guess I'll also quickly address new videos. I do have an idea of posting another video, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, but that will all depend on my work schedule and how busy I am at work. So don't hold me accountable to that. I can easily say I'll have it done in the next couple of weeks, but it'll take me 2 months or 6 months, or I'll never get able to get done. Yeah, that's about everything I need to say. That's everything I wanted to address. If you have watched this back and you are still at this stage, what the fuck have you been doing? Or what made you watch this for 2 hours? You seriously have nothing better to do with your life? I am deeply sorry, and I really hope you find a new hobby. But until then, until I do another live stream, which I don't think I will be doing anytime soon, or at the very least not planning to do one anytime soon. Until then, I have been the Shardy Guy. Like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at ahgirl1718. Thanks for watching. Catch you all next one.